guys, welcome back to Tashida's Lit Lounge, where literacy is lit. Today we will continue reading Nancy Clancy's Secret Admirer, written by Jane O'Connor, illustrations by Robin Price Glasser. Remember, this is a level O, if you know your reading level. And we left off at chapter 6, so we will begin with chapter 7. When it rains, it pours. Step 2 did not go as smoothly. First, it started pouring almost the minute school let out. Nancy and Bree had to run the whole way home. Nancy was out of breath by the time they reached Bree's house. She flung herself on the sofa, panting. Bree pointed to a vase on the hall table. "There are the roses." Oh, Nancy was disappointed. "They look so droopy." "What do you expect? My mom's birthday was last week." Nancy went over and picked out the ones that still had most of their petals. "I don't know," Bree said, watching Nancy. "Mom might get mad." "Don't be silly." Nancy tied her hair ribbon around the roses. "Your mom has plenty left. They're going to get tossed soon anyway." "I guess." Bree didn't look convinced. Then Nancy raced home and brought back the Valentine's Day card that her dad had bought. "Here, read this," she said, handing Bree the Silver Secret Admirer card. Bree read it aloud. "No other eyes shine like your eyes. They sparkle like stars in the night skies, and your smile is like the morning sun, spreading warmth on everyone. It's you I'm always thinking of. To you I pledge eternal love." "Doesn't that say it all?" Nancy smiled and sighed. "I'll get a pink index card so you can write it down." "Oh, no way." Bree shoved the card back at Nancy. "That's copying." Nancy sighed. Okay. Together, they came up with another love poem. "Roses are red, violets are blue. My eternal love is all pledged to you." "This isn't nearly as good," Nancy grumbled. Bree said exactly what Nancy knew she would say. "It's the thought that counts." Nancy returned Dad's Valentine, then got a raincoat, helmet, and bike. Biking to Annie's in the rain was no fun. By the time they got there, Bree and Nancy were soaking wet. Once again, the house looked deserted, which meant nobody was home. They ran up the porch steps. Once again, the dog started yipping. "Aw, some of the ink ran," Bree said as they put the card and flowers on the mat by the front door. "It looks like it says for Annie." The roses had also lost more petals. Nancy? Nancy Clancy? They suddenly heard someone shouting. Nancy and Bree spun around. A truck had pulled to a stop right in front of Annie's house. It was Andy's old pickup truck. Inside it was Andy. That's the end of chapter 7. We'll continue with chapter 8. A close call. "Hey!" Andy rolled down the window. "I thought it was you." Nancy's brain froze. She gulped. "Hi, Andy?" "That's Andy?" Bree whispered. When Nancy nodded, Bree let out a squeak like a mouse. "What do I say?" Nancy didn't know. Her brain was still frozen. What are you doing over here? Andy asked. Then he pointed to their bikes. Those yours? Yeah. We were, uh, we were riding our bikes. Nancy licked her lips and blinked. Then it started raining really hard. So we ducked under this porch for a minute. The words just seemed to pop out of her mouth all on their own, but they made sense. Kind of. I have no idea who lives here, she added. Come on, I'll give you girls a ride home. Oh no, Andy was getting out of the truck. What if Annie came home now? It would mess up everything. Andy picked up both bikes and put them in the back of the truck. Nancy and Bree scrambled into the front seat. Nancy peered down the street. So far, there was no sign of Annie. Before Andy started the engine, he turned to Nancy. Aren't you going to introduce me to your friend? Sorry, this is Bree, Nancy said hurriedly. Hi. Bree smiled a nervous smile. Too many of her teeth were showing. Okay, away we go. Andy took out his key and started the engine. At least he tried to. Each time, the truck made a funny noise. This happens all the time, he said. It'll just take a second to fix. Don't look so worried, Nancy. Worried? Nancy wasn't worried. She was frazzled. She was frantic. She was panic-stricken. Everything was going wrong. While Andy got under the hood of his truck, Nancy and Bree scrunched way down in front so maybe Annie wouldn't see them if she came by. Hurry, Andy! Hurry, Andy! Nancy was shouting in her head. Nancy was almost 100% positive that she and Bree could send thoughts to each other. But they were best friends. Andy was only her guitar teacher. At last, Andy returned and, ooh la la, this time the engine sprang to life. The truck took off down the street at the corner. A red station wagon was waiting to make a turn. That's Annie's car, Bree whispered to Nancy. They had gotten away in the nick of time. Merci beaucoup, Nancy said to Andy when they reached her house. She and Bree hopped down from the truck. See you Friday. Same time, same place. Afraid not, Andy said as he got their bikes down. I need to call your mom. I got a gig late Friday afternoon. Andy was going to play guitar at the Candy Cafe for some little kid's birthday party. Oh, JoJo's going to that party, Nancy exclaimed. So is Freddie. He's my little brother, Bree added. Maybe we can switch your guitar lessons to Saturday. Andy got back in the truck, tipped his baseball cap to Bree and Nancy, and drove off. Talk about a close call, Nancy said. Once Andy's truck was out of sight, Bree's hand was pressed against her chest. My heart is pounding so hard. I have to sit down. In the kitchen, Nancy poured 2 big glasses of apple juice. While she gulped hers down, Nancy thought about what Andy had just told them. Bree, maybe running into Andy was a stroke of luck. It was? Think about it, Nancy paused. Now we know where Andy and Annie can meet Friday. A smile began to break out on Bree's face. She jumped up and started doing her little victory dance. Yes! The Candy Cafe! The birthday party invitation was on the fridge. The party ended at 5 o'clock. They always have cake at the end, Bree said. Andy's gig will be over right before then. Nancy nodded. So around 4:45 is when Andy has to show up. Oh, Bree, this is all working out, Bree said. We can go to the Candy Cafe when it's time to pick up JoJo and Freddie. A dreamy look came over her face. We can spy on Annie and Andy, and watch them fall in love. Nancy poured herself more juice. Maybe it wasn't just luck that Andy drove by, she said, squinting her eyes in deep thought. Of all the streets in town, why did Andy pick Annie's street to drive down? Maybe he was drawn to her house, like a magnet. Ooh. Bree sat back and let this sink in. It's like their love is meant to be. Exactly. Then Nancy cleaned her glass against Bree's, and they both said at the same time, to eternal love. And that's the end of chapter 8. Chapter 9, The Messenger. On Wednesday, the letter that Nancy and Bree left on Annie's porch said, My darling, I cannot keep my eternal love a secret any longer. Please meet me on Friday at the Candy Cafe. Be there at twilight. That is 4:45. I am tall, dark, and handsome. I will be wearing a Red Sox baseball cap. Check one of the boxes below. Yes, I will be there. No, I am not coming. Leave your answer at the bench by the swings at the playground. P.S. Maybe use some tape so it won't blow away. Thursday was the longest school day ever. Nancy couldn't wait until 3 o'clock when she and Bree could bike to the playground. What if Annie's answer was no? Then all their hard work would have been a waste. It was too heartbreaking to think about. Even during creative writing, Nancy's mind kept wandering. All she did was fill her paper with doodles. Little hearts. Big hearts. Hearts with frills around the edges. Inside each one were 2 script A's. Daydreaming. Nancy looked up. Yes, sorry, Mr. D. I'm eager to find out what Lucette is up to next. Lucette Fromage was a 9-year-old girl that Nancy had made up. In the last story, Lucette Fromage had caught a gang of jewel thieves. Now, Lucette was trying to reunite a prince and the poor village girl he loved. One reason why Mr. D liked Nancy's stories was that she used vivid, interesting words like reunite, which meant get back together. Mr. Dude said sometimes a writer needs to daydream. Writers can get superb ideas from daydreaming. Nancy smiled. She loved Mr. D so much, not in an external love kind of way, but because he was so wise and understanding. At last, the minute hand crept up to the 12 and the hour hand reached the 3. The bell on the wall in their classroom rang. School was out. Nancy and Bree jumped from their seats, raced down the hall, and burst outside. While they were stashing stuff in their bike baskets, Grace came over to them. Bree, your mom is parked around the corner. She told me to tell you that she's driving you and Nancy home. What? Bree and Nancy cried. Why? Grace shrugged. How should I know? Bree turned to Nancy. This ruins everything. Ruins what? Grace asked eagerly. Ruins what? She repeated, tagging along as they wheeled their bikes over to Bree's mother's car. Why can't we bike home? Bree asked her mom. We don't need you to drive us. It turned out that Nancy's mom was working late. Bree's mom was picking up Jojo and Freddie from preschool and then doing some errands. I don't want you girls staying in the house alone. I've got the trunk open. Put your bikes in back and jump in. Bree's mom had a "don't argue" look on her face. Still, Bree gave it a try. We have to bike over to the playground, Bree said. It's very important. Please. She strung the word out forever. It didn't work. What's so important? Grace wanted to know. Why do you have to go to the playground? Nancy was starting to say none of your beeswax. Then she remembered something. Grace lived across the street from the playground. Grace, will you do something for us? Nancy asked. Maybe, but not free. You'll have to pay me back. Deal? Nancy rolled her eyes, then nodded. Deal. Nancy, hurry up, Bree's mother called. Bree was already in the back seat, pouting. Quickly, Nancy told Grace what she had to do. Call right after, Nancy said as she buckled up the seatbelt. I'll be at Bree's. That's the end of chapter 9. I hope that you have enjoyed, and we only have 2 chapters to go, so I hope to see you soon to hear chapters 10 and 11 of Nancy Clancy, Secret Admirer. Have a good night.